everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 5, Episode 2. It's called Darmok. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And it goes without saying, Darmok and Jalad at the damn it, I've forgotten the name of the island. Damn it. Tanagra.
Tanagra. Damn it. I knew it was Ta something.
I had it here ready. I knew I was going to forget phrases. So, yes. Premise this episode is rather unique. Also, for some reason, Ashley Judd's an extra.
Why not?
And then just disappears. She's not in the next episode anyway. Maybe she'll come back later, but she doesn't appear to be coming back. But we have a episode where the Federation are sending the Enterprise to a race called the Tamaranians. No, I knew I was going to do that. Tamarians. It's so close. It's so close. For those of you who didn't get what I just did there, that is a DC Comics alien race that I just said.
You just slipped into DC by default.
I did. The word is so close. Like I knew when I heard it that I was going to do it.
It's just not good enough.
So, but they go to meet these aliens, and ships have encountered them before, but they mention, they're talking about it before we get to see them, that there's been a bit of a language, the universal translator, the communicator, doesn't quite work with it. I mean, it's translating things into words, but the words aren't making a whole lot of sense. And very quickly that becomes apparent. In fact, there's a great moment when they're first talking to them over the comms where it cuts back to Picard at one point, and the look on his face, I'm like, is this what my face looks like when I'm watching a David Lynch movie? Because it looks so like, it was like for a second it was a character, and Patrick Stewart was just like, what am I doing? Where's my career led me? This is insane. I don't understand. But very quickly, the captain of the alien ship and then Picard are beamed down against Picard's will. Picard doesn't know this is coming. It just kind of happens. The aliens have enough fancy tech that they're able to just kind of like essentially kidnap him and beam him down to the planet below, which is not their planet for the record. It's just a random M-class planet. And they end up down there. And the episode is essentially Picard and this alien captain. Together, at first, Picard thinks that he's down there, that he wants to have like a trial, because he tries to like hand him a knife, and he's like, wait, does he want like a one-on-one duel? Is this like a test or a trial by combat? Like, what is this? But it becomes clear it's kind of more than that, and they're there for a couple of days. Meanwhile, Riker, in charge of the Enterprise, is trying to like do stuff to like get Picard back, whilst maybe not starting a war with a new alien race that they've barely encountered. But it's about communication. It's about Picard trying to understand what this alien is saying to him, because he keeps saying these phrases, and we see repetition. We hear some of the same phrases. So we hear the odd new one, but we hear a lot of the same ones, and it's like, okay, he's trying to figure out what these mean. And then ultimately there's like a villainous or a monster on the planet which is going to hunt them. And quite clearly, I think it's very obvious early on that this is about them working together, because, and for however misguided this might seem to our culture, it seems like this captain wanted to be put in a dangerous situation with Picard, so they will form a bond over sharing danger together, despite the fact that it might get them killed. But of course, over the episode, Picard does start to piece things together in a way that makes sense. He starts to understand that the way they speak is to reference things. It's almost like if the example that's given, there's an example given in the episode. I'll do my own just for like more contemporary.
You don't get more contemporary than Shakespeare. It's evergreen. There's always a new Shakespeare adaptation.
Unfortunately, yes. But what's a modern example?
Right. So all right, you got to top Shakespeare now. Let's see you try.
I don't want to top shit. It's not about topping Shakespeare. It's about giving an example that, I don't know, people who are 13 might get.
I think people who are 13 still get Romeo and Juliet. It's already in the consciousness by that age.
I mean, I got that this was a Romeo and Juliet reference. I've never actually heard or read or watched Romeo and Juliet, so I don't know the significance of the balcony, I have to admit.
Just.
I don't know what scene's happening. Is this when they kill themselves by accident? Like,
No.
is this the scene where John Cusack holds up the boombox?
Honestly, it's not that far away. if I'm being honest, that's kind of hitting the ballpark.
But credit to the episode, because it does kind of make some sense by the end. I don't think we understand it completely, but when Picard comes back on the ship and he sort of communicates with the first officer of the alien ship, he does throw in some lines where I'm like, I don't necessarily know what that's, some of these extra lines. He's clearly learned a few more in his time with this other captain that we didn't get privy to. But the ones that he specifically figured out in scenes that we saw, where he was talking to him and he realised that, okay, so there's Darmok and Jalad on I keep forgetting the damn island. They did the Tanagra. Yes, right. So that's an island. That's these two people on an island. But it does make sense as the alien keeps saying it in a different way. It's like, oh, so one came first because at first he's like, so Darmok on Tanagra, so just on his own, and then the other dude came, and then they're on the ocean. It's like, oh, they left together, like, and it was actually kind of making sense.
You could follow it, yeah.
So when he said all these things at the end, it was like, okay. I will say the funny thing about this episode is that it made me really annoyed at Riker constantly, because Riker kept, even though technically he was doing the right thing, I kept saying, stop butting in, like, we're getting somewhere with Picard. In fact, Riker interfering and making Geordi try to beam up Picard is what got the alien guy killed. He'd be alive if it wasn't for Riker.
Yeah.
That's his Riker's fault.
It is, but he didn't know. As far as he was concerned, his captain had been kidnapped and placed, and they knew there was a dangerous being there. What's he meant to do? Just go, I'll leave it, it'll be fine. Sort itself out.
Yes, I know. That's why I said I opened with, technically he's doing the right thing. But from the audience perspective, all he's doing is getting in the way. He's getting a character that the episode is doing an effective job of building sympathy for throughout the episode, where we actually kind of care about him. By the time he asks Picard to sort of, when Picard finally understands the story that he's trying to tell him and he's been trying to communicate the entire time, he essentially asks for a story in return, even though he won't really understand it. And Picard starts telling his story, and it's really sad because the alien dies as he's getting to the end of the story. And what's funny is that the Gilgamesh story that he tells him, it's actually got some similarities, except notably, one of them dies at the end, and Gilgamesh is left on his own. And it's kind of funny how the story kind of morphed into the one Picard was telling more in terms of what happened to them.
Yeah, it's a great telling of it, because it's possibly the oldest story in the world. It's very, very old.
Yeah, he tries to tell it the way that the alien would tell a story. So he has a different sort of pronunciation to things, and the way he phrases things are a little bit.
Yeah, it's a very obviously simplified version, but it's very effective.
Yeah. So I was surprised. Like, I enjoyed, Picard couldn't get the fire started, even though, I feel like Picard would know how to do that, but I'm guessing it's because it's technically not Earth, so it's not, the rules are slightly different, or the wood's not regular wood or something. Either way,
Picard just doesn't have survival skills.
He's struggling, and, there's a nice moment when the alien, after sort of trying to go to sleep for a minute, sort of realizes that Picard's freezing and gets up, because this is at the point of the episode where it's like, it's not like they're hostile towards each other, but Picard does think he wants to fight him with a knife. So there's
still antagonistic. Yeah.
There's a bit of trepidation. And I think the alien's trepidation on his side is more that Picard rejected, like, their shared goal, because the alien, from his perspective, he's like, here's a knife, we're going to hunt this thing that's here together as a camaraderie, as a trust building exercise
experience.
And by the way, the monster that shows up is like some demonic version of the Predator that phases in and out of, like, visibility.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of cool.
That was interesting. Definitely a different visual, which is nice. But yeah, Picard's like yelling no as they're trying to beam him up, and they don't even succeed. Like, they only get like half a signal, and they have to just kind of give up. So then he's just back in time to like help patch up the alien dude, and eventually, the scene at the campfire where he dies, and I was like, they did a good job of making me care about this alien. I found myself sad that he was dying, that there was a bond formed, and that at a certain point Picard understood what he was trying to achieve and kind of respected what it was. And I was like, okay, this is how their race try to build relationships. This is as weird as it seems and as dangerous as it actually is. It feels
He
like
understands the point of it.
Yeah, because later on it's described of like, you know, they use their own mythology and everything's a comparison to their various mythology to actually, you know, communicate. And basically, and that would maybe translate as to why everything is like, you know, a bit more extreme, or in this case dangerous, in the sense that, well, if they're taking lessons a bit more literal from stories like that, because you know, what we would do is we would tell a story that's a bit more extreme and has like life or death circumstances, but we would apply it to something like sharing a toy or something. Like, you know, you tell a kid a story like this, and then sort of, but the end message would be, and this is why you share the toy, or don't break the toy, or something.
Sure. I think it's interesting because I think Troy and Data were obviously trying to figure out the same stuff separately.
Yeah.
And the word, I can't remember the exact word they used, but it was like historical mythology. There was like a blending of the two words. And I wonder, maybe, you know, as much as we, you know, you say, oh, myths, stories, maybe there is like, no, some of this actually happened, and that's why they're like, no, this will work.
Yeah, maybe. It's honestly hard to tell from their phrasing, because the way
it is,
the way they talked about it sounded more like it didn't happen. It was more like it was just a story.
It's possible, yeah. It is kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, but it was super interesting. It's one of these. It's just one of these concepts for an episode it really stands out as being very unique. And let's not overlook the lead here.
I was gonna say, how have we gone this long without saying about it yet?
Well, Picard's suave new jacket.
Yeah, it's a very nice jacket.
It's very nice. I have a theory actually that came in towards the end of the episode where I realized the reason why they might have designed this fancy new jacket, which looks really good, is so that it can be open and the cheap shirt underneath can be the one that gets damaged in a fight, because that's the one that it's easy to replace for whatever reason. Because notably in the final scene when you know Riker comes in and he's reading like some ancient Greek mythology, he's back in his normal outfit, but for the rest of the episode, he just, you know, at the start of the episode he just walks in and he's just in this jacket, which is obviously the same color scheme, but it's got a bit of suede sort of look to it. It's got sort of
shoulder pads.
Yeah, get shoulder pad effect, and there's definitely the design of it reminds me of the suits they have in at least one of the next gen movies. But
I have to tell you word on that one.
But yeah, but I think that may have something to do with it. I mean, but whenever we have him with this open jacket, I'd be curious to track if the shirt underneath always gets damaged.
I get where you're coming from, but the shirts that they wear anyway are not particularly fancy, right? They're just two-tone.
I mean, they're not, but I wonder if for some reason they knew they couldn't replace it. Maybe there was the place where they got all these shirts made for the crew like shut down and they couldn't get the exact ones anymore, so the solution was to make a new jacket and have the shirt underneath that.
I just hope he wears this jacket every episode. It'd be way better.
I mean, we'll see.
Everyone should get a jacket.
And it's not like he knew he was going to be spending time outside. You know, he didn't know he was getting beamed down to a planet's surface. I thought it's actually kind of convenient that he's got a slightly warmer bit of attire for all this outdoor stuff.
It's useful, isn't it?
It's just by happenstance. He had this nice jacket on.
A little bit of serendipity.
But it's very suave though. I immediately noticed it.
I did too, and I was like, "Ooh, looks good."
Yeah. I mean, and the shirt underneath did have a bit of design. It had still the same sort of design, but with a grey, black on bottom, grey on top. Which again, you know, some of the movies do veer towards grey, like more natural toned color schemes, and we've even seen it with the original crew, where, you know, you go back to the motion picture, they're all wearing grey and white. But yes. Yeah, I'm actually surprised it took that long to mention it, because it was like the first thing I noticed in the episode.
It was me too. I was like, oh, we're going to be talking about this right away.
So, no, but I dig this episode a lot. I thought it's one of these things that so much of this show is about diplomacy, communicating. This was very much okay, we don't understand how this race of people communicate, and there's some shakiness here because some of the actions they take could be seen as like, aggression, and Riker definitely reads it that way. Worf's ready to go to war, as he usually is, and they're trying to sort of navigate that up on the ship, but so much of it's about, okay, how are they trying to communicate with us, and can we meet them in the middle with this? Can we somehow figure this out and actually kind of accept this communication? And maybe if anything, like one of the things that some Trek episodes can maybe do with a concept like this is like maybe a time where the aliens actually do more of the work than our side does. Maybe the aliens figure out how to communicate with us rather than us communicating with them. And I get why that doesn't typically happen, because from a writing perspective, the ones we're following are the ones who are being proactive, and therefore it makes more sense for them to do it. But given how many examples we've had now of like first contact and stuff like this, it could be something to like do at some point.
No, I get where you're coming from. No, I do like what this one does though, and at the end, you have the first officer kind of puts Picard and I think his name was like Dathan at whatever the planet was called.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, this has become a new story, a new reference for them to use, so they can kind of communicate back. Oh, this, it's at its core a very similar story to the main one, but it's just okay. It's a new touchstone for them to communicate with, and then of course, Picard sends over the Homeric text so that they have, our myths, so that they can, if they come to humanity again, it's like okay, they can choose to talk with things that we might understand, so it'll be a bit easier for next time.
Yeah, if nothing else, Picard, I'm sure, has put into the computer all the phrases he knows and what they all mean, so that there's a basis. There's a basis for anyone else who comes.
A little bit of a Rosetta Stone, almost.
Yeah, because it's not going to be easy. Like I'm just imagining that even with this new understanding, where there's this friendship blossomed, like the first meeting where they have to actually go over like a peace treaty or like maybe trade like parameters and deals and things like that. Imagine trying to like iron out those details with this language and how they speak.
Yeah.
How do you say the number 5?
I imagine you would, in theory, choose a group of 5 things that that are common. I don't have one example to hand because I'm not here to think about that. But like a team with 5 people in it.
So what you're saying is,
so
what you're saying is the humans are going to show up and say, "Teenagers with attitude selected by Zordon."
So something like fruit or veg in a day. A lot of people will go, "Oh, you're meant to have you 5 a day." So fruit or veg, there's a link there.
I'll let people in the comments decide which example was funnier.
I'm not saying yours wasn't funnier. I'm just saying you got to think of it like a cryptic crossword.
Is 5 a day like a universal thing? Like, is it like?
I don't know. Actually, I'll be honest. I have no idea.
That might just be a UK thing. The
it's
5 a day
very possible
phrasing.
it is. It's very possible it is. But if I was speaking to someone in the UK, that would be a very good touchstone.
I'd be questioning why is someone in the UK not speaking English to you, but okay.
God damn it.
Are you in Wales? Are they doing some Welsh?
Oh, that'd be way more unintelligible than any of this. Got no chance. At least I can pronounce these words.
Yes. I think that's just because the translator, the communicator, is doing that. I'm sure the actual words they're speaking
I
are.
I don't think a universal translator could say Welsh.
I mean, I'm fairly certain it'll do the job. Yeah, no, very, very good episode. Like I say, Ashley Judd surprisingly just kind of around. It's funny.
Oh, that's the thing that really like wait, what?
She's just
like,
there. She's just there, and the next episode, because I looked ahead to the next title, and it's called Ensign Ro, and her name in this is Ensign Robin, and I thought, oh, maybe she's going to be like a main character next episode, but no, it's a new character just called Ro. Like it wasn't short for Robin, so
why would Ro ever be short for Robin?
I don't know. Why is Bill short for William? That makes no sense either.
Once upon a time, I knew the answer to that, and it was stupid, even knowing the reason.
Yes.
So yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all the characters are around in the episode. Obviously, some of them are basically just cameos. It did occur to me though, it's been a while since we had like a Riker focused episode. I was thinking that as he was like, taking command and stuff. Because this, even though there's a lot of Riker making decisions in this episode, it's not a Riker story by any means.
Oh God, no.
So.
No, it has been a little while. I guess. I still feel like over the course of the show, we've had a good amount of Riker episodes.
Mm.
Like we've had a good amount of Data episodes. I don't need a Data episode for a while, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I suspect you'll get at least one this season.
I'm sure I will, but I'm in no rush.
I think Worf obviously got the lion's share last season, and so he's like very well serviced as far as character development and stuff goes for maybe a little bit, but
yeah, Geordie tends to get maybe 1 or 2 per season at most.
Yeah, where he tries to bang a hologram.
Pretty much.
Yeah, no. Darmok is a very solid episode, which I think what works so well about it is that it's an episode that, because it's based around trying to understand something where the words don't matter, it forces the writing to elevate, to tell the story in less conventional ways. And obviously the visuals play a part in that, but it all comes from a screenplay that has to rely on the fact that the characters can't talk to each other. So how do you have someone realistically figure out what this weird phrase means? And it does it fairly convincingly over the course of the episode. So it feels like something is actually accomplished, and it feels like true efforts made on behalf of the character to actually kind of put this together. So
yeah, no, it's really well done. It's really inventive. I think you mentioned there, it's done convincingly over the course of the episode, and I agree. And I think that's probably one of its best strengths is its pacing. In that, it would be very easy to just go, this is Picard's getting this too quickly. It's like because this is alien, right? As a concept to most of us. It's like he's figuring out this too quickly, but it doesn't. It plays it where it's just long enough. There's just enough frustration that he goes through it. It's done in such like small little bits at a time that it really works.
Yeah, and they do bond. That's the other thing, is that the goal of this was to have them bond over the shared danger. And not only, I mean, I was sad when the alien died, but I was mostly sad because Picard was sad. And I believed that Picard was sad. I believed there was a bond there. So it's a very effective episode and everything it's setting out to do. So very, very strong episode to we had obviously the solid second half of the redemption to kick things off. Not without flaws, certainly, but I think this episode kind of went on a little step up. So season 5's off to a solid beginning, I would say.
Yeah, I'm into it so far. Very little to complain about.
So next episode, as I mentioned earlier, is called Ensign Row, and here's the description on IMDb. Captain Picard foils a plot against the Bajorans with his new Bajoran officer, Ensign Row. We'll see if I pronounced that correctly next episode.
Have we seen them before? The name's familiar.
Bajoran. I don't remember, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if I've just forgotten them.
Yeah.
Bajoran.
Could be just me. Deja vu, maybe I've read it somewhere or, just see the name.
Yeah, Bajoran. Played
Is it
by...
one J? Because I'm assuming like Bajaran, maybe, but...
Bajaran, yeah, maybe that. Played by Michelle Forbes, who looks vaguely familiar, actually. She's in True Blood, Escape from L.A., one of the Hunger Games movies.
I'm sure I'll know her face then.
She's in The Killing. What do I know her from? I feel like I've not hit the thing that I know her face from.
I've seen a good handful of these things, enough that I'm like, yeah, I'll probably recognise her.
Prison Break. Battlestar Galactica, that's what I know her from. She's Admiral Kane. That's what I knew her from.
There we go, you got there.
It took me time. She's in 24. I've probably seen her in a few things, but Battlestar Galactica is the one that I know her from. Alright, okay, there we go. I'm glad I got to the bottom of that.
You can rest easy now. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, so we'll see. Anyway, so that's next next episode. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and everything we do here, you can, of course, do everything I just said, like and subscribe. But you can, of course, support us over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble. Keep all the content coming. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek. And somewhere out there, Wesley and Tasha on the Love Boat